Board of Education is now in session. We will begin our meeting this evening by reading this board statement on hate speech.
The Watertown Board of Ed and Watertown Public Schools are committed to providing an inclusive educational environment. All students, regardless of race, religion, color, national origin, ancestry, alienage, sex, sexual orientation, marital status, age, disability, pregnancy, gender identity or expression, veteran status, or any other characteristic protected by law, have the right to access opportunities and supports available throughout the district's educational programs and should be able to do so in a welcoming, inclusive environment, free from the dangers of hate speech.
All students, including those who are lesbian, gay, bisexual, or transgender, have the right to attend school in a safe environment. Our Board of Education meetings are an extension of Watertown's school environment and are televised into homes, permanently recorded and accessible to all.
Words matter, and there is no place for hate in our schools. And we should never stay silent in the face of speech that devalues people. This is why the Watertown Board of Education stands together in solidarity to condemn hate speech spoken against our LGBTQ+ students, faculty, family, and community members.
Hate speech refers to incitement and encouragement of discrimination or hostility towards an individual that is motivated by prejudice against that person because of a particular characteristic. For example, their age, religion, sexual orientation, or gender identity. And in the face of hate speech, passivity and silence are never the answer.
If left undiscussed and unchallenged, hateful speech can escalate into threat. If hate speech directed at the LGBTQ+ community is left unchecked, worsening behaviors can become more accepted and more dangerous.
Discriminatory language of any kind has real consequences and impacts the lives of people in our own community. Suicide is the second leading cause of death among young people, with LGBTQ+ youth being 4 times more likely to seriously consider suicide, make a plan for suicide, and to attempt suicide than their peers. The Trevor Project estimates that at least one LGBTQ+ youth between the ages of 13 and 24 attempts suicide every 45 seconds in the United States. We must not stay silent when faced with hate speech directed towards our LGBTQ+ students.
To that end, let us be clear. Hate speech at Board of Education meetings will not be condoned, period. We, the Watertown Board of Education, strongly state our abhorrence for hate speech of any kind and our commitment to tolerance, inclusion, and upholding the human rights of our LGBTQ+ community and all people. We are committed to promoting an inclusive environment and will strive to provide all members of the school community with opportunities, resources, and support that facilitates learning and growth.
Elie Wiesel, during his 1986 Nobel Peace Prize acceptance speech, said, "We must always take sides. Neutrality helps the oppressor, never the victim. Silence encourages the tormentor, never the tormented. Sometimes we must interfere. When human lives are endangered, when human dignity is in jeopardy, national borders and sensitivities become irrelevant. Wherever men or women are persecuted because of their race, religion, or political views, that place must, at that moment, become the center of the universe."
We must take sides. We do take sides, and we side with our students. To our students, friends, and neighbors who have been hurt by this vicious language, the Watertown Board of Education sees you, accepts you, and loves you.
Please rise as Mr. Murkowski leads us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mrs. Davidson?
Ms. Hosking? Here. Mr. Flaherty?
Here.
Mr. McCaskey,
Here.
Ms. Rinaldi,
Here.
Ms. Wilk, Ms. Crotty,
Here.
Ms. Rosa,
Here.
Ms. Eastman,
Here.
Mr. Malaguti,
Here.
Mr. Davidson.
Here.
Thank you, Mindy. Moving on to item D, members should have received a copy of the minutes from the October 12th regular board meeting. Do we have a motion?
Yes, Madam Chair, I move that the board approve of the October 12th, 2021 regular minutes as presented by Ms. Davidson.
Thank you, Mrs. Rinaldi. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Moving on to item E, award recognitions. The Watertown Board of Education wishes to recognize and congratulate Watertown's 2021-22 District Teacher of the Year, Mr. Christopher Begnell. Recognizing
He's looking around.
Recognizing his teaching talent and ability to form strong connections with students, he was officially asked to join the Watertown High School English Department in 2007. His dedication to his students is evident. Year after year, he seeks to form relationships with all students, making them excited to walk through his classroom door. Mr. Begnell is also not afraid to try new instructional strategies. He uses mentor text to teach students how to write for a variety of purposes. He consistently differentiates to meet the needs of Watertown's ELL population. He has taught in the summer school program at Watertown High School. He believes that all students should have multiple opportunities to demonstrate their learning, allowing them to be successful and prepared for the following school year. The Board of Education is proud to honor Watertown Public Schools Teacher of the Year, Mr. Christopher Begnell.
All right. On behalf of all of us, a wonderful plaque. I'm going to give you the entire box.
Oh, that's
And I chuckled there at the start because I know Miss Wilk and Miss Hosking was with us for convocation when Mr. Begnell gave his acceptance speech at the start of the year, and he had a fantastic performer.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. I
So,
loved it.
the same. Congratulations.
Would you mind stepping behind us, between us, so we can get a picture with you?
That would be wonderful.
We can all remain standing?
Would you like to invite his family up as well?
How would we do that?
Let's move your face.
Okay. And you believe your family is here?
Yes,
Can we
my
have
family.
them come up as
Oh,
well?
can we get my lovely family?
Absolutely.
Come on up.
Come on down.
And maybe if the family stands right in the front here, that would be wonderful.
Come up. We don't fight, I promise.
Let me set this down.
Hi.
You say hi.
We're so proud of your dad. Wonderful. Is everyone look straight ahead at Ms. Davidson? Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Still, quite overwhelming, to say the least. But thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, for item 2, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Villanueva.
Thank you very much. And so Mr. Begnell was chosen as the Teacher of the Year out of many, many nominations this year. We had quite a few, and I know that a few of our nominees have also joined us this evening. So if you hear your name, please stand, and we have a certificate for you. Jody Angiolini, a special education teacher from Polk School. Paulina Eclair, English teacher from Watertown High School. Annalisa Barlow, 5th grade teacher at Polk. Julianne Bombero, oh yes, perfect. If you're here, we're going to give that applause. Julianne Bombero, special education teacher from Swift. Jennifer Caprari, 1st grade teacher from John Trumbull. Diane Searcy, English teacher from Watertown High School. Chelsea Guerrera, math teacher from Watertown High School. Beth Coleman, kindergarten teacher from John Trumbull. Tara Lanise, pre-K teacher from John Trumbull. Jennifer Longo, second grade teacher from John Trumbull. Erin Matthews, language arts teacher from Swift. Stephanie Milo, fifth grade teacher from Polk. Richard Perronay, social studies teacher from Swift Middle School. Ashley Pedinato, from school psychologist from Watertown High School. Dorothy Rinaldi, computer teacher from Judson. Jessica Sharkey, special education teacher from Watertown High School. Corrine Stentiford, kindergarten teacher from John Trumbull. Kate St. John, language arts teacher from Swift Middle School. And Beth Wolf, SRBI coordinator from Watertown High School. If you all wouldn't mind coming on up here, and then I'm going to very carefully find your certificates, and we'll take a picture with you as well.
I'm glad you're handing
Yeah.
this out.
Okay. You can come right on up to the front.
It's really incredible to see so many nominees, to have your colleagues nominate you, and to have so many from one district nominated by your colleagues. That's pretty impressive, so congratulations.
Squeeze again? Are we squeezing again?
No? Can you see us? No?
We're just backdrop. Yeah.
That's okay.
That's okay.
That's all right.
Important people are in the front. The important people are here. Let them go through.
Yeah, okay. We've got one more gift coming.
One more.
Yeah. Congratulations. Congratulations. Okay. Board members, stand on your tippy toes. Need more flowers?
No, don't stop. Yeah, you guys look good. We don't need to look good.
It's okay.
Oh, dear. Okay.
Thank you, everybody. Congratulations.
Wonderful. Gave mine away. Thank you. Our next section of the agenda is one very special part for this evening, and it is item F, Distinguished Service Awards. First, I'm going to read what's on the agenda here, and then I have a little statement prepared. The Watertown Board of Education would like to thank the following board members for their profound leadership, dedication, commitment, and service to the Watertown School District and to the community. We are fortunate to have had such a dedicated group of board members leading our school district, and I also want to thank them for their support of our mission to improve the education system for our students continually. We applaud them for their vision and voice to help shape a better tomorrow. And very soon you'll hear some remarks for everyone here who will be leaving our Board of Education and who is having their last meeting this evening. So tonight marks the last meeting before elections for 4 longstanding members of our current Board of Education. To say thank you after the countless hours of service you have each provided to the Watertown Public Schools and to the Watertown Oakville community seems is the least thing that we can do this evening. To provide a little context, here's a quote that just starts to scratch the surface of what Board of Ed members do. The school leadership team, school board, and superintendent is critical to the success of public education. Great things can happen when the elected and executive leadership of a school system are in agreement about goals and expectations. That requires candor and collaboration and a shared commitment to the mission of ensuring that all children have access to a great education. According to CABE, Board of Ed members have the power and the potential to improve teaching, learning, and student achievement in our public schools through cooperative, purposeful, and professional working relationships between the superintendent and boards of education. And it's not just that easy, because all of that purposeful professional work is done when shifting demographic, cultural, and regulatory pressures press down on the functions of any board. School districts with high-quality governance teams and high student achievement are relentlessly focused on a leadership relationship based on collaboration, all on behalf of children. Chairwoman Crotty, Leslie. Vice Chairwoman Wilk, Janelle. Miss Rosa, Josephine. And Mr. Flaherty, Brian. On behalf of the Watertown Public Schools, I would like to thank you for your leadership and commitment to work together with the community to develop a vision for the school district with a primary focus on student achievement. We also thank you for your focus on working with us to communicate and interpret the school district's mission to the public and listen and incorporate appropriate community perspectives into board actions. And I thank you for collectively executing the legal responsibilities of a Board of Education, even when it's tough and the pressures loom high. And for me personally, I thank you for the collegial spirit that has underpinned my experience since I arrived in the district. That doesn't happen in all districts, and I know that I'm very lucky. Here's a small token of thanks that are meant to relax the spirits in the coming weeks. So one of the bags that you'll receive have nicely scented candle and a little book on mindfulness and meditation. So when you're not here for your first meeting, you can certainly go into a Zen moment. But to keep it nice and short, I thank you for everything, and I know many members of the community do the same. And so now I turn it over to Ms. Kathy Rinaldi, who will give the presentation of an award and remarks to Ms. Leslie Crotty.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to speak to you tonight about Leslie Crotty and her time on the Board of Education. Leslie began her legacy on the Board of Ed in November 2013, and in less than a year, she was appointed Board of Education Chair. Although it was under unfortunate circumstances of the passing of her dear friend Guy Bazzano, the board at the time knew Leslie was a perfect person to continue the hard work and dedication that was required to be a successful board chair. Throughout her 8 years on the Board of Education, Leslie got to know 6 superintendents, served on the Budget and Finance, Curriculum and Instruction, Facilities and Operations, Governance and Community Engagement, and Policy and Labor Committees, spent countless hours in all union negotiations, weekly superintendent and budget meetings, attended numerous charitable and school-related events, a plethora of board chair conferences and informational sessions, not to mention all the conversations with parents, students, staff, and board members. Leslie has also played a significant role in making educational, social and emotional, and community changes, all decisions being heartfelt and with the best intentions for all our students. Being the Board of Ed chair doesn't always come with glory. Unfortunately, it also has a share of sadness. During her 8 years as Board of Ed chair, Leslie has dealt with some tragic events that occurred throughout our town. We've lost students, staff members, past and present, Board of Ed members, and other misfortunes that have affected Watertown Public School families. Leslie handled each heartache with compassion, sensitivity, and always making sure our families knew that they had the love and support of the Watertown Public Schools behind them. I've had the pleasure of working with Leslie for all my time on the Board of Education. She has always handled herself with grace and dignity. Leslie also always ran and treated the Board of Ed as one group and one union, allowing us to respectfully speak our mind and share our thoughts. That leadership has proven to be an asset to a successful Board of Education. To say Leslie has truly devoted the past 8 years to the Watertown Board of Education is an understatement. I asked fellow board members to share one word with me that describes Leslie and her time on the Board of Ed. To no surprise, I got responses like supportive, encouraging, utterly selfless, which is 2 words, integrity, compassionate, and admirable. These attributes prove what a Class Act Board of Education chair Leslie has been. On a personal note, over my 6 years on the Board of Education, I was able to confide in Leslie with personal and professional concerns. I always respected her advice as a colleague and a friend. She was never too busy to answer my early morning or late night texts. And I'll never forget the confidence she bestowed in me to always stand up for what I believe in, and for that I truly thank you. Leslie, as this is your last meeting as Board of Ed member and chair, please know I speak for everyone when I say thank you for your commitment to the Watertown Public Schools. And we all hope that you use all your free time, because you're sure to have some now, to do the things that you enjoy and make you happy. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy.
All right, and the next presentation will be by Ms. Karen Hosking on behalf of Ms. Janelle Wilk, our Vice Chair.
Janelle, it is both my honor and my pleasure to have the opportunity to share what Janelle means to all of us on this board. I first knew Janelle 20-plus years ago when I worked at Watertown High School, and she was the younger sister of Maddie D., my student. Much of how I remember Janelle then holds true now. Her smile lights up a room. She is the same kind, genuine, authentic, open, and caring young woman today. She is devoted to her family, her husband, her dogs Walter and Trigger, and a cat that very wisely adopted her, her work, her community, and for the last 8 years, this Board of Education. A few short months ago, Janelle welcomed me onto this board. She offered me support, guidance, wisdom, and all the assurances that I needed until I gained confidence to move forward and find my voice. How she and I have come full circle from the student I first knew to the mentor I now adore. I will always be grateful. I saw firsthand her commitment as she attended all meetings, subcommittees, marched in parades, and laid wreaths at memorials, and volunteered wherever she was needed. Fellow board member Jason Malaguti put it perfectly. Janelle is diligent, extremely hardworking, dedicated, compassionate, and passionate. She throws herself into every opportunity at civic service. She is fair-minded, well-spoken, although she may argue that, good-hearted, and always uplifting to everyone around her. Janelle is an amazing woman who is honest, and everything she does or says comes from her heart. Josephine reflected that from the start of her 8 years on the board to this, her final meeting with us together, Janelle is a true gem. Before closing, I'd like to share some highlights of the past 8 years. Janelle became a board member November 2013. In June 2015, she took on more leadership as board secretary. In October of 2020, Janelle became vice chair. In March of 2019, she became chair of the Policy and Labor Committee. Her perseverance in negotiations has resulted in signed contracts with all bargaining units. In August 2021, Janelle became chair of Facilities and Operations. Janelle was often, I think always, a member of all the walkthroughs of our buildings before school opened this fall to ensure our students had both safety and security for our students, our staff, and our community. Wait, there's more. Janelle also served on the Budget and Finance Committees, Curriculum and Instruction, and Policy and Labor before becoming chair. Janelle, as I try to speak for all of us who know you and those of us lucky enough to sit side by side with you here on the board, you will be missed more than you know. It is both bittersweet and hard to say goodbye, yet we know you will continue to put others first and through that, make a difference in our community and our world. We wish you love, luck, and happiness in all you choose now and in your future. We are grateful beyond measure for your service, your kindness, and your friendship, but mostly thankful that you gave of yourself for all of us. I can only end with an Irish prayer. May the dreams you hold dearest be those that come true, and the kindness you spread keep returning to you.
All right, and the next presentation will be by Miss Cindy Eastman for Miss Josephine Rosa.
Josephine. It is my privilege and honor to speak about Josephine, both as a person and a trusted and committed Board of Education member. Josephine has been a member of the Board of Ed since November 2013, serving on both the Business and Finance and Curriculum and Instruction committees. She has shown her commitment through her unflappable presence at meetings and other board events. It was my good fortune to be seated next to her for the last 4 years, because the moment I sat down for my first meeting, she took me under her capable and generous wing. I'm not the only one who thinks that her heart is with the children of this town. That is her lens. How will whichever issue we're discussing affect our children? Of all the lenses that board members must look through, she has always been steadfast in her gaze. It's always the children. She looks out for others too. Like me at that first meeting and throughout her life, Josephine's focus is on people. But don't just take it from me. Bridget Carnamola, our former superintendent, shared with me that Josephine is a true example of what we hope to have in our board members, always interested in all perspectives and making rational, measured decisions that meet the immediate needs while still maintaining the long-term vision of the board. She does not serve political party. She serves students, the school district, and the town. As if I needed more evidence of her dedication to her community, at a recent event, U.S. Representative Johanna Hayes became aware that Josephine was a member of the Cavallo family, a longtime Waterbury presence, and founders of Cavallo's Market. She told Josephine that night that she could always count on Cavallo's when she was a young, single mother in Waterbury. They were always looking out for her and helped her whenever she came by. Then, after Johanna thanked her, a member of her party came up to Josephine and basically said the same thing, thanking her. And then another man present shared his gratitude with her. Of course, Josephine had no idea that these people would be there, but when they realized who she was, they had to thank her. Helping people is what Josephine is all about. No matter who I talk to about her, Bridget, Leslie, anyone, they all say the same thing. Josephine's heart is with the children. No matter what she is going through personally, and recently it's been a lot, her clear interest is for others and honoring her commitment to our town's most vulnerable citizens. Bridget said one more thing. She said, "I'm certain her beautiful smile, calm demeanor, professionalism, and genuine desire to do what's best for kids will be missed on Monday nights. No more so than by me." Thank you, Josephine, for your unwavering love and dedication to our towns.
Thank you, and our last presentation will be by Mr. Jason Malaguti for Mr. Brian Flaherty.
Mr. Brian Flaherty, from the moment you joined us, your unique personality, charisma, experience, wit, and charm impressed us all. To me personally, you were a friend and mentor on the other side of the board who somehow always wore the same color tie I had selected that evening, unscripted. Your congratulatory speeches became a highly anticipated, legendary event for all to behold. You consistently chose the right words in the right moments to make your connection with people unique, personable, genuine, and unscripted. Your deep roots in this town are a testament to the enduring bonds you have nurtured over time with so many families. I was most impressed by the fact that you were able to share these wonderful generational tales with us all. It provided us a consistent, inspirational reminder of what an incredible community Watertown is and will forever be. You stepped into your role with sizable shoes to fill, and you did so to utter perfection. I am in awe of your political savvy, your deliberate delivery, and the humble nature in which you served your post. I have watched you handle all adverse situations with a political candor and humility unlike any other, which has given us all a leadership example to follow. We are lucky to have had you, if only for a short period of time, because of the indelible impact you have made on not only myself, but all board members, and most importantly, the community and children of Watertown. In closing, I wish you the best, sir. I consider us all fortunate to have served with you, and most importantly, I thank you sincerely for your service on behalf of the Watertown Board of Education, our community, and the incredible children we have the honor of serving. Thank you, sir.
Nice try.
Thank you. I can't believe we did it again tonight. I almost texted, I didn't have to, I knew it.
Thank you so much.
And I'd also like to call up Ms. Marianne Rosa, Chairwoman of our Watertown Town Council, to the podium.
Good evening. I'm here this evening representing the Town Council to express our gratitude to the members of the Board of Education that are not running for election, and this is your last meeting. I think we've heard all of your attributes and fine qualities this evening. I can't really add any more to that than what I said to you earlier this evening. We deeply appreciate your time and commitment, your unwavering devotion to the school system through some very difficult decisions. And we wish you the very best in the years ahead. We have a small certificate for each of you that expresses in recognition of having served as a member of the Watertown Board of Education. The Town Council wishes to express its appreciation and gratitude for your dedication, volunteerism, leadership, and numerous contributions to the citizens of Watertown. Personally, I'd like to say it's a sad day when Mrs. Rosa goes off. There won't be another Rosa on the board after 20 years of Rosas. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Rosa.
Mr. Flaherty. Thank you so much. Janelle. And my friend.
Thank you, Mrs. Rosa. Thank you, everybody, for participating in recognizing the four of us. We really appreciate it, and I know I speak on all of our behalfs when I say it's been a real, real pleasure to collaborate with all of you and to call all of you friends and colleagues. And I thank you for your tributes this evening. They do mean a lot to each of us.
Ms. Crotty, just before we move on, there is just one more presentation.
Okay.
Josephine?
Leslie, on behalf of the board and Dr. V, we'd like to show our appreciation for what you have done for us.
Thank you.
We present you with this.
Well, I certainly know the store. so. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Leslie.
We are going to now hear from Evan Davidson, our student council representative.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening, everybody. At John Trumbull Primary School, we began the year with Writer's Workshop, a program in which students build fluency and confidence in writing through continuous repeated exposure to the writing process. Students have been busy learning the routine of Writer's Workshop. They've been using assorted writing paper to capture their thoughts, selecting writing spots, conferencing with teachers, and revising their work to meet specific individualized writing targets of small moment stories. We have also been working hard at creating our community of writers through sharing. Students have been sharing their writing pieces with the class. We've learned that everyone has a story to tell, and we're all a community of writers and authors. At Judson, our grade 3 students are working hard in math and becoming experts picking what subtraction strategy they like to use while subtracting 3-digit numbers. Some like to use the number line, some like to break apart, some like to use the break apart strategy, while others like to use the adding to subtract strategy. So many different ways. In grade 4 math, students have been hard at work learning the standard algorithm for addition through games and activities. In English Language Arts, students just wrapped up a unit about Chad, Africa. We were fortunate to have Mr. Damaris come in to speak with us about his time serving in the military there. He shared some pictures, stories, and answered questions from the students. Students have read or are continuing to read the book Wonder. This read aloud provides an opportunity for wonderful discussions about kindness. In grade 5 math, students are wrapping up learning about multiplication algorithms. It is so wonderful to see these math brains in motion. In ELA, students are working hard on using vivid verbs in their writing to bring their pieces alive. Students are in full swing with their WIN groups, and students are utilizing the time to work with a teacher or with each other on special enrichment projects. We kicked off our Science Fridays. Classrooms are starting to dive into the science units in greater depth on Fridays. Students are really excited to learn about many different topics, including force and motion, fossils, and the weathering of rocks. Finally, bring your families to the Wolves and Witches Walk to trick-or-treat in Judson's haunted hallways on Friday, October 9th from 6 to 8 p.m. Games, raffles, and food from Frankie's are available to purchase. There will be a costume contest, and there will be a $5 admission. Each month, Miss Field, the art teacher at Polk, recognizes an Artist of the Month, and this artist's work is displayed on a special wall of fame in Polk's main hallway. The September Artist of the Month was Janelle Knapp, and the October Artist of the Month is Shane Peck. These two artists are being recognized for their hard work, passion, and enthusiasm. In addition, Mrs. Field shared that they both are excellent role models. On Friday, October 22nd, Polk students joined together to celebrate individual differences and to make a stand against bullying as part of the Million Misfit Sock March. This national event, sponsored by the Polk Student Council, is a reminder for everyone that even though being different may make us feel like we don't fit in sometimes, differences are what make us all special. To culminate the day, students engaged in a parade around Polk School to show off their misfit socks. Finally, Polk students were so excited to participate in 2 fun fall events last week. Each worked together to build and decorate a class scarecrow. On display during the Halloween Bash, students and family members were able to cast their vote for the funniest, scariest, best dressed, and most creative scarecrows. The Halloween Bash was a huge success, and it was lovely to see our students dressed in their costumes and enjoying the merriment. In addition to the trunk or treat, students enjoyed a DJ dance party and Halloween games. The Swift Middle School chapter of the National Junior Honor Society recently inducted close to 60 members into this elite organization. Membership is earned through the achievement and maintenance of high academic standards, as well as through the display of good character. Students who earn this membership are called to be role models for their peers and asked to exemplify the 5 tenets of the organization: scholarship, leadership, character, service, and citizenship. Dr. Villanueva helped us to induct our newest members and joined with staff and families for this important event. Speaking of important events, this week Dr. Villanueva joined Town Manager Mark Ramo and Director of Operations Lisa Flaherty to participate in the induction of 20 members into the Swift Leo Club. The Leo Club is connected to the Lions Club, and Lions members help support Leo activities and vice versa. For example, Leos help out at the annual Lions Christmas tree sale in mid-December. We are grateful for this collaboration between our students and members of the local community. At Swift, we also collaborate with members of the community through the Watertown Garden Club. The front of the school recently got a good sprucing up, and the flower beds got cleaned out for the winter. The Garden Club members support the students even through the winter when they work together with students to decorate for the holidays. Our World Language Club is sponsoring salsa dancing with a visit from Elisa of Elisa's House of Salsa. Students are invited to listen and learn all about Spanish culture through this unique style of dance. Student Council held its annual Pink Out Day together with staff. Over $400 will be donated for breast cancer research. Watertown High School held the first meeting of the Principals Advisory Panel last week. The panel was open to all Watertown High School students, and over 50 students signed up to participate. The meeting's agenda, included the panel's purpose, a discussion of the daily schedule, use of study hall time, and overall school fundraising ideas. Students were wonderfully engaged and insightful. The next meeting of the panel will take place in 3 weeks. Watertown High School students and Swift 8th grade students participated in the final round of voting for the new Watertown High School mascot last week. With a substantial majority of votes, Watertown Warriors was selected as the new mascot. The next step included students drafting examples of a Warrior logo for the entire student body to consider and vote upon. We have already several excellent submitted drafts of the new logo, and we thank students for their great participation throughout the mascot process. We have had several Spirit Fridays over the past few weeks. Last Friday featured anything but a backpack day, where students carted their Chromebooks and class supplies in a wide variety of different containers. This past Friday was a pink day to raise funds for the Susan G. Komen Foundation. We have a number of fun Fridays coming up for the remainder of the school year. Finally, the Watertown High School Unified Sports Team enjoyed an excellent game of kickball along with our friends from Oxford High School. Athletes and partners enjoyed the competition and fun during this autumn afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you, Evan, for that report. It never ceases to amaze me how many collaborations our schools have with community partnerships like the Lions Club, an incredible organization. And also, I just have to add on a personal note, if school, when I was in elementary school and middle school and high school, had the types of clubs and activities and spirit days that we have now in our school system, things would have gone much better for me on a daily basis. Lots of encouragement to go to school, get excited about going to school, and
Absolutely.
really hats off to our administrators for all their work they do for those, to put those into action in our school. Any questions for Mr. Davidson? Okay, thank you. Moving on to item H, Superintendent's recommendations and report. Dr. Villanueva?
Thank you. Just a couple of updates from me. One is I would like to begin by formally welcoming our new business manager, Ms. Marika Shuba, sitting right over there, who's joining us this evening on her first day in the district. We're so happy to have her joining us, and as she onboards, Ms. Kashuba will be working closely with all of the cabinet members to dive into our very soon upcoming budget season. Very soon.
Welcome.
So welcome.
Didn't we just finish that?
That's right.
Perfect timing.
And as you heard from Evan this evening, last Friday and throughout this coming week, our schools have several fun events planned for students and families to take part in for the fall season. Last week's trunk or treat was so impressive at Polk, really, to see the extremely creative trunks. So people park their cars and decorate, and pretty impressive. I also had a chance to visit the Link crew at WHS. They shut down a hallway and decorated it, and they were very kind to ask me before I walked through, on what scale of scariness do you want it? And I chose baby scary, and it was still pretty darn scary. So they did have a great time there. So that's really update from me, not a whole, there's a lot going on, but those are kind of the two fun things to update. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Dr. Villanueva? Okay, moving on to item I, presentation of food service update. Ms. Emily Doring, Watertown Public Schools Food Service Director, is here this evening to present the board a first quarter review of the food service department, including an update of the breakfast and lunch programs. Dr. Villanueva?
Wonderful, thank you. And also, as we're welcoming Ms. Kashuba as our business manager, we welcomed Ms. Doring to our district just in, I think, August. Yep, right at the end of August. That's right. So Emily is new to us as well, but she has already done some great work with our food service team, and we are excited to see a Q1 update on how we are doing. All right, we turn it over to you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Emily Doring. I am the Director of Food Services, and like Dr. Villanueva just mentioned, I'll be giving an update of what we've had going on so far this school year. We'll have a glimpse of the budget up there so everyone knows where we stand, and I'll share some things that we have going on in our department. And it works. Okay. So the first update, I'm going to bring everyone back a couple of months, and this past summer was the first year that Watertown ever hosted a summer meal distribution program. The way our district ran it this year is we had families pick up 7 days worth of breakfast, 7 days worth of lunches. We ran that program out of Swift Middle School. On average, we had about 200 students rather, coming to get those meals each week. It was a huge success, and we thank everyone who did come and pick up meals. When I get to the budget piece, I'm just mentioning this will be what the July and August numbers are reflective of, was this program that we ran for the first time this summer.
And if I could just jump in there for just a moment. As Ms. Doring mentioned, we did summer meals for the very first time this year. This was an opportunity this summer to ultimately respond to food scarcity that we do have in our district. We have families who came and picked up food for the entire week, and we were able to feed them for both breakfast and lunch. It takes a little bit more logistical planning on our end, but we are so happy and so proud that we can provide food to our families year-round now. Really is wonderful.
Absolutely. So that was summer, and now this year, what is going on since school has started? So the first big update is that Watertown Public Schools is running the seamless summer option of the National School Lunch Program. And what that means is that the USDA, in conjunction with the state of Connecticut, has passed a series of waivers that allow us to feed all students in our schools a free breakfast and a free lunch every day. And then we receive funding back from the state based on the number of meals that we serve. We, like our summer program, are having great participation to date. We're seeing lots of students taking advantage of the free meals that we're serving. We are serving more meals than we have in any years before this. And again, we know this is really good because we are getting more nutrition into our students. All of our meals are filled with whole grains, fresh fruits and vegetables, low-fat dairy. And we also, again, receive that funding from the state for the more students that we have participating. A quick note while we're talking about the free meals, there was some confusion and questions if those free and reduced applications should still be submitted. And the answer is yes. Even though all meals are free this year, there are still other benefits outside of the meal program to completing those applications. So if there's any families who haven't sent their form in yet or weren't sure if you should send it in, you absolutely can and should still submit your free and reduced form.
Dr. Pruitt, can I ask a question to the, oh,
Please go ahead.
So I'm just curious, at the high school, I know that there's a variety of food for the kids too. Is it a certain lunch that they get for free, or is it no matter what they want?
Yep, so we use the term reimbursable meal is what we have to be able to submit to the state. And at every school, we have multiple options that are reimbursable meals. At John Trumbull, Polk, and Judson, we have 3 different reimbursable meals they can choose from, and then there are some snacks as well. At the middle school and high school, I'd say there's probably 5 or 6 reimbursable meals, and then all the snacks on the side. But even their favorites, things like pizza, things like some of the sandwiches, we make sure those are reimbursable meals so we can submit them to the state and still get our funding for that.
Do they have to pick like something from each? I know sometimes in the past you had to have a juice, you had to, do they have to grab all that stuff in order for it to be?
Yep, so the phrase that we say, there's 5 components to a school meal, so we offer 5 components. We offer a serving of fruit, a serving of vegetables, a grain component, milk, and then a meat or a meat alternative. And in order for it to be reimbursable, the term that I keep using, a student must select 3 of those. So they have the option to decline some things if they don't like it, but they're welcome, and we encourage everyone to take 5 components.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So that is what's going on with our meals. The other big update this school year so far are the supply chain challenges, and this is something that we're seeing not just in Watertown, not just in food service. This is something affecting our nation and affects all sectors of life outside of food service. And unfortunately, it is getting harder and harder to get deliveries, to get the products that we want to use. In our district, we are seeing a lot of canceled deliveries, delayed deliveries, product substitutions, and we're doing the best that we can with that. I think everyone who has been patient with any last-minute menu changes we've had to make, those have just come out of necessity, but we do our best to communicate any changes with the students. We make sure to include nurses for students with dietary needs, so that people do know when we do have to make a change.
And Ms. Doring, I want to hats off to you because I know that at the start of the year we anticipated that we would be experiencing some supply chain challenges. So I heard you say a few times to the group, triple and double order this week, because then we'll put it aside for the following. So I know that you're thinking ahead into the future and just anticipating when there's going to be shortages. You're putting stuff away.
Definitely. We're doing our best to mitigate where we can, so ordering ahead. We're looking for new vendors to try to still get the products that we know students like. So we are getting there and doing our best.
Quick question for you. I know you're probably going to go over revenue, but I am curious, how is the free meals, which is phenomenal, first of all, we want that. How is that impacting the revenue? Because then we're dependent on snack sales, correct?
So I will have the budget up there in a second for you to really look at the numbers, but we are able to cover our meal costs from the government. So serving a reimbursable meal is just as good as a snack sale.
Okay.
And that'll be up there in a second.
Mr. Mikowski?
Through the chair, thank you very much. So to piggyback on that question, just a reminder for the community, correct me if I'm wrong, but food services is self-sustaining. You're your own budget center, right? So money in, money out, right, can't be in a negative, right? So
Yes.
that's a really important thing to consider when evaluating, the supply chain issues, rising in costs, that you have to manage all of that. But to piggyback on that, have you given any consideration to trying to identify or partner with local companies or suppliers that might be able to leverage higher purchasing ability? Like, so for example, like a LeBon's or whoever who's got multiple stores, they have greater buying power than Watertown Public Schools, to see if we can piggyback on their access to supply chain and product and bring that into district.
I certainly haven't looked in that direction quite yet, but like I said, we are trying to get creative with our supplies. There are some things we just can't get from our normal vendors, and then the price you mentioned, we don't want to have to keep paying more. So those are definitely, opportunities to keep looking around. If we do find people local in the community that we can partner with, that's, even a double win situation. But nothing yet to date in that regards.
Great, thank you.
All right. So what I have up here speaks to the number of meals that we've been serving, and just to kind of make the chart nice and even, I compared this September to September of 2020, September of 2019, September of 2018. The column in blue are the number of breakfasts that we served during the total month. Green are the number of lunches we served during the entire month. So as you can see, both breakfast and lunch counts are up from any of the 3 years prior that we're looking at. But I especially wanted to highlight the breakfast column because that is the most significant jump. We do have a lot more students this year consuming breakfast in schools. Again, I've said this, we know we're getting more nutrition into them. Everyone's heard the phrase, breakfast is the most important meal of the day. We know students that eat breakfast perform better academically. Less tardiness, all of those benefits. So this is a really good thing to see. I think so.
Absolutely.
I believe we served just over 30,000 meals, combined breakfast and lunch during the month of September. So that is really, really awesome. All right. Now we have the budget that I'll let everyone take a few minutes to peek at and process on their own. I will point out a few things while you're all glancing at this. July and August, I mentioned all of those numbers are reflective of the summer program that we ran this year. Historically, food services has not done anything for the summer, so those lines are usually pretty quiet, but this year, as you can see, we were actually able to yield a bit of a profit from our summer program, so that's a huge win for our district. Looking then at September, I do want to point out in the income column that we did receive a significant amount of extra funding from the state this month to make up for funds that were lost during the beginning of the pandemic. So going back to spring of 2020, the state gave us quite a generous amount of money to help offset that. So our income will not typically be that high because we will not be getting that money from the state again Typical sources of income include snack sales, teacher meal sales, second student meals, catering sales, and vending sales. However, that extra money that we received from the state was very helpful in offsetting some of those increases in food costs, which was the other part I was going to draw everyone's attention to. We can see that the food costs and paper costs for September was quite high, and that unfortunately is tied to all those supply chain challenges that I mentioned before.
Through the chair.
Go right ahead, Mr. Bukowski.
So quick question. So let's say that we are able to continue this trend, right? So, you know, I don't think we're used to seeing a profit of quite that amount at any point in a year. But let's say we, despite the challenges, we can end the year with a reasonable profit, you know, in food services. What do we have to do with that? Does that have to, can that stay within food services, or does that have to go back to the town? How do we?
So I did ask this of Dr. Villanueva very recently. The money that we see in profit, and correct me if I'm wrong, really replaces the nest egg of the food operating budget, since they're their own operating budget.
Correct.
That was taken from them during COVID, particularly with, you know, obviously the prices, the lack of students buying lunches and snacks, and staffing, extra staffing for summer programs and so forth. So that money, correct me if I'm wrong, has to replenish that security net that you have in your operating budget. Is that correct?
Yes, and that's what we're currently working on. So last year, the food service department was in a very different position. We did struggle not having students in school full-time. That really hurt our sales. So this is a much better but much different position to be in this year. Our plan is to start moving that money back that we took last year, as long as we can continue on this trajectory.
Absolutely. And what's also wonderful is that now that we have a little bit of a cushion there, it's not extra. What it allows is for the year's self-sustainment to continue on, because oftentimes I think the first reimbursements don't come in until school has already begun and we're well into the year, and we already have to put in our orders and such. So it allows us to continue the circle to keep self-sustaining itself.
Yeah, and Mr. Murkowski brings up an important point. He mentioned the town council, putting money back in the town coffers. So part of our ask last year, when we went for an appropriation from the town council, included some of the funds that we were in need for sustaining our food service operation. But that doesn't even come close to what we lost.
Correct.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay.
Thank you.
So I'm going to move off of the budget, and just a couple of notes of where I see our department going and what we may be able to expect moving forward. Based on the number of meals that we saw during the month of September and the number of snacks that we were selling, catering events, we can anticipate about $7,020 per day coming in as income. When I was looking at the numbers a little bit more, I was very excited to see that our meal counts from September to October have already jumped pretty significantly, which means that we can anticipate even more money coming into our budget, more money coming back from the state. We've increased our average breakfast per day by about 130, and we've increased our average lunch sales per day across the district by just under 300. So if we continue to have more and more students participating in breakfast and lunch, we'll have a little bit more cushion in our budget, which can help with some of the uncertain expenses. So this is my plug. I think everyone who has tried our meals, if you're sending your child to school to get breakfast or lunch from us, if you are a family that has not tried our meals yet, maybe this is the time that you could give us a try for one of your meals and see if we can get those meal counts up even higher.
And just one more thing, if I can jump in there, you have a very important part down there in the last sentence. It says equipment repair. So just backing up to the previous slide about some of that cushion there, we have large industrial equipment in all of our kitchen and cafeteria facilities. So when a refrigerator goes down or a stove goes down or an oven goes down, it's thousands and thousands of dollars. And it does happen. And when it does, you know, we cross our fingers that we've got the money there to be able to repair it.
Absolutely. So looking at the expenses, again, based on kind of what we've been spending end of August, September, the beginning of October, I'm anticipating about $6,890 coming out per day. If we can stay on this path, then obviously everyone can look at those numbers and we have the potential to stay in decent shape. Things do happen. The food costs are very uncertain. The equipment repair, like Dr. Villanueva mentioned, but based on these numbers, it does seem like our budget will be in a healthier standpoint than it was maybe last year. And then just the last thing I wanted to share with the audience this evening is a quick bit about our after-school snack program. This is a brand-new program that we're rolling out in the district. It's another opportunity to provide students with balanced and nutritious snacks, but it's also another opportunity for us to get some additional reimbursement from the government and again, help to cushion this budget. We have an initial rollout for students participating in Student Council and Homework Club at Polk Elementary, and we are working with the principals of all of the districts to identify other clubs and other areas that we can expand this program.
It's free to students.
Yep, and that's another thing. So this is works the same way as breakfast and lunch. It is free to all students. Any student who's staying after for some sort of academic or enrichment activity, we can provide them with a snack.
Board meetings.
Yeah. We stay after school, did we get back to the numbers? We did.
What are the snacks for that? What are the kind of snacks?
What are the snacks for that? So the menu that we have rolling out at Polk right now includes, there has to be 2 components. So again, kind of similar to the breakfast and lunch program. There's 4 components you can pick from. There has to be 2 in a snack. We are using a lot of packaged items like pretzels. We're using Cheez-Its and graham crackers and then pairing that with either a fruit or a vegetable. And that's just to help control our labor costs because it's a new program. I'm trying to keep it pretty smooth to operate.
And if they don't, then you could always take that back and use it.
Right, the menu, will change, we'll see how this goes, but that was my intention with this, because this is also a new program for Watertown, so we have to kind of iron out all the kinks.
Do you hope to, once you get through the initial rollout and see how it goes, do you hope to expand that to all of the schools?
Yep, definitely have emails, going out and working with the principals, so the main requirements for this would be the after-school program has to be either educational or enrichment in nature. They don't allow athletic sports, unfortunately, to qualify for this. And the program has to be run by Watertown, so our YMCA clubs do not qualify for the snack program.
What's exciting, though, is it's kind of the first step to some possibilities down the road. We start with one school, we can perhaps get into all of our schools, and then although athletics is not included at this point, perhaps down in the future, there will be an opportunity to also expand there for a small cost, so. So I know athletes are hungry after school.
Definitely. And that is really all that I have for everyone this evening. We're 3 months in, but I am hopeful that we're going to have a very good school year. I will leave everyone with a few images of some meals that we have served last week in our cafeteria, and I open up the floor for any additional questions.
Board members have any questions? Okay, thank you so much. Really appreciate all the
Thank you.
information and the work that you've been doing.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move on to item J, the 2022 Board of Education meeting date calendar. In your packets was a draft of the possible meeting dates. I have gone through the dates on the calendar. The only one that I wanted to mention, and then we'll open it up to board comments, is the date on 9/26. It is a high holy day for our Jewish population. I don't know if any of the staff members who are required to be at Board of Education meetings or any potential future board meetings or public would have any concerns with that. I'm not so sure. We don't have a very large population of people, but I think given the most recent concerns we had from the public in a letter that we read last week, I think it's important to acknowledge that that is one of the 2 most high holy days of the Jewish calendar.
Madam Chair,
Go right
I
ahead.
think that we should change that
Agreed.
date.
So, you guys want to take a look at your calendars?
Through the chair.
Go right ahead.
Is the following date, Tuesday, September 27th, so is that holiday multiple days, or is it a single day?
It's multiple, but
There's days in between.
the main holiday for 2022 occurs, the first day occurs on the 26th. So it's the night before day 1 and day 2.
Can
Would
we
it-
do it the 19th that month? I mean, can we do them back to back, or can we just do the 5th and the 19th that month?
Oh, no, we shouldn't, because we didn't share the room.
The 5th is Labor Day.
Yeah,
Oh,
5th is
yeah.
Labor.
Might be easier, just in terms of
To make it
central
27th?
office, to keep it the same week. I don't know how you.
So I think, does Rosh Hashanah end the
The
evening of the
27th.
27th?
Yep.
So,
Through the
Do
chair.
28th?
Yeah, move it to Wednesday. So through the chair.
Go right
I
ahead.
think, given previous communications that we've received, I think we need to start setting the tone as a district that we take these into account seriously.
Yeah, I was
and
surprised
not
to see
move.
it on
You
there.
know, let's move the needle, right?
Right.
Let's
Absolutely.
get it outside, so that there's no questions, there's no conflicts, and let's start setting that tone across the district. So if Wednesday the 28th.
Any
That
board
would-
members have a concern with changing the meeting date to a Wednesday?
No.
Is there a concern for personnel in the district to be able to run a meeting on a Wednesday?
I don't think so at this point. But I'll also reflect this conversation when we get to calendar for the 2022 year as well.
Okay.
Through the chair, is it bad to have them back to back, like 2 Mondays in a row? Or if we do it the following, the last?
so much.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
I
you
think
mean
it
like,
conflicts with the town, it conflicts with the town
Oh,
council
that's
meeting.
right.
it probably would, yeah.
Yeah.
First and third is town
I
council.
think that's why we
Yeah,
always
that's
try to
right,
do
yeah,
the
I
opposite
forgot
in
about
case.
Right, right.
So it'd be the 28th.
I mean,
And that's-
off the top of my head, I don't know if there are any other town meetings that we would be conflicting with.
I know there's
Um,
PTO on the last
What date
Wednesday.
the town council?
What if we pass it with the 28th? And
Because the
We can
PTO should be.
adjust
Yeah.
it.
you can always adjust it
Right.
Yep.
after you have some time to look at the district calendar and see what else is going on.
Agreed.
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah,
Okay.
That's good.
Okay.
Any other dates that anybody has a concern with?
So, Madam Chair, do we need to, we don't have a motion on that, so.
Yep, we do. It's coming up.
Let's see,
Yep.
we don't have one right now.
We were going to make it with the 28th.
Yes.
As the meeting date. So we do have a motion coming up. We'll just adjust
We'll
the
just
motion.
include that in the motion.
Yeah. So right here, as edited by the board this evening. All right, anything else?
I think that makes more sense.
All right, is there a motion to approve the calendar as edited by the board?
Yes, Madam Chair, I move that the board approve the 2022 schedule of meeting dates for the Watertown Board of Education as edited by the board this evening.
Is there a second?
I second it.
Any discussion? Just for note, during discussion, the edit was for the September 27th, the September 26th meeting to be canceled and replaced with September 28th. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you, everybody. Moving on to item K, communications. Madam Secretary?
Yes, Madam Chair, we have 2 letters this evening. First letter to Superintendent Villanueva, Principal Parlato, and the Watertown Board of Education. We led the initiative for the Board of Education to renounce Watertown High School's former problematic Native American mascot, and it has come to our attention that the Warriors is one of the voting options. Clearly, the Board of Education and the committee formed by the Board of Education recognized a problem with a Native American mascot. The problems the board discussed regarding the Indian mascot are all equally apply to the proposed Warrior mascot. In their ending Indian Mascots campaign, the National Congress of American Indians, the largest and most representative Native Americans organizations, recognizes Warriors as an inappropriate Native American mascot that needs to be changed. Various schools have changed their mascot from Warriors for this reason. There's also a website that was given. It is not appropriate to replace one Native American mascot with another. We expect our educational leaders to act as leaders in this situation and make a decision that makes clear that the use of Native American mascot is not appropriate. That is why we wanted to bring this to your attention now so that you could prevent a new Native American mascot being selected, invoking the same ethical and legal risks that the Board of Ed outlined in the decision to retire the Indian mascot. Thank you for your time. We would hate to see all the research, time, and effort of the committee and interest groups involved in retiring the mascot to go to waste, or for Watertown High to put themselves at risk of liability. Best, Ellie and Colleen. The board also received another letter on October 22nd. Dear Chairwoman Crotty and the Board of Education, I'm writing as a concerned citizen regarding the tone, lack of courtesy, and respect being shown at the last several Board of Education meetings. Although I can appreciate the right of all Watertown citizens to freely express their concerns, I believe there is a difference between freedom of speech and outright hatred. At the most recent board meeting on October 12th, I feel the hateful rhetoric crossed the lines I haven't seen in the public forum in the past when a local resident commented on the record that homosexual talk is vulgar and went on to say homosexuality doesn't belong in schools. When I moved here 21 years ago to raise my children, this is not the future I envisioned. As parents, shouldn't we want our children to have the right to be who they are, free from ridicule? Most upsetting are the Watertown students who were impacted by these statements, including students who may have attended the meeting in person or virtually, some of whom do so in order to serve our community. It is unacceptable that any child should be made to feel unwelcome in this community. With the hatefulness of some of these parents, where is the response from our elected officials? Is it in our Board of Ed's responsibility to protect our children, teachers, and administrators from such hatred? If you are a prospective teacher, administrator, or parent, would this be the type of community you would want to work in or raise your family? We are sending a much broader message. Amidst these hateful outbursts in our community, it is a coincidence that there are Board of Ed candidates who have placed their campaign signs next to a local F Your Feelings flag in town. We need public accountability and support for the LGBTQIA+ students. Most importantly, we need community and common courtesy. We need to think before we speak, listen to the experiences and opinions of others, and have real conversations with respect. We are a town divided by lack of caring for each other. Our conduct as individuals will shape our fate as a community. We are only as strong as we are united, and as weak as we are divided. As ever, Dave Santangeli. And both of these letters were communicated through the Board of Ed members through email.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Moving on to item L, public participation. Public participation does not allow for two-way conversation between the speakers and the board, but we welcome and appreciate your comments and opinions, and all will be taken into consideration. The board encourages speakers not to express personal complaints or defamatory comments about Watertown Board of Education personnel and/or students and any other persons associated with Watertown Public Schools. As provided in Robert's Rules of Order, the chairperson is authorized to ensure speakers adhere to reasonable standards of decorum. Such standards include that speakers be courteous, avoid personal attacks, refrain from the use of vulgarity, hate speech, and the like. Please be advised that no speaker has a First Amendment right to be disruptive, rude, or engage in hate speech. Should you engage in such conduct, chairs will not hesitate to end short your time at the podium. Security issues and matters relating to negotiations and grievances will not be permitted. Consistent with the principles of the Federal Education Right to Privacy Act, any discussion of students is not permitted absent parental waiver. Please note that our meetings are also attended virtually, are live streamed on YouTube, and are recorded for the public's future viewing. You must state your name and your address for the public record. We must be able to distinguish that in the recording, and limit your statement to 3 minutes. To any members of the present public wish to address the board this evening. Mrs. Lambert?
Kelly Lambert, 301 Oak Drive. Tonight, I would like to give thanks to the Board of Education members who will no longer be with us at the next meeting, and particularly Board of Education Chairwoman Leslie Crotty. Leslie deserves a special thanks for all she has given to our town, much more than any other volunteer public servant that I can recall in recent memory. I can say that prior to Leslie being chair, I knew others who I thought did the job well, but no one has done what Leslie has done. And I think she has set a standard which will be a hard act to follow. And whoever does should look to her as the model for not only how to conduct meetings, but how to lead a school district. Leslie has devoted a great deal of time and energy to our community and its members, regularly meeting with the administration, as well as constantly making phone calls and having conversations with parents and community members. She has always lent an ear, and always with one goal: students' best interests, and that is all students. Leslie has always been transparent and available. She is nonpartisan, working with everyone equally, and always with students in mind. She has normalized celebrating students, faculty, and staff during meetings, providing words of encouragement, supported programs that reach students in need, and fostered career-ready education. She has listened to all of us with an open mind. She has bridged gaps. Not all decisions are easy to swallow for a community, and she has made difficult, sound choices for our district's future. She has also had the brunt of unfair statements in recent months, and she has handled it all with grace. Leslie may not have grown up in Watertown, but Watertown is lucky that she chose us as a place to raise her family and give years of service. And she may be stepping down from the Board of Education, but I know her second act will shine brighter and continue to impact not only our town, but our world. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. Please state your name and your street address.
Genesis Alfonso, Lovely Drive. I'm going to start off by saying that the comment I made last time, okay, I'm not apologizing for it, 1. 2, you guys are all cowards because it's clear to me that this was about me, that this hate speech stuff is being mentioned. I should have been addressed personally, I feel. Everybody knows what I said. It's clear where your priorities are. It's clear that you guys are on one side of the town, because when there's parents who want their kids en masse, when there's parents who want things done for their children here, it's not done. But I say one comment about the inappropriate content for elementary and middle school children. Okay? You should read some of these books. They should not know a letter about the things that are in these books, these kids. And you guys are sitting there and you're being quiet about it. And you're not doing anything about it. You're saying that hate speech, all these things, they're going to add to the suicide count. The suicide count's going up because this stuff is in the school. And the more that you sit there and you just tolerate it and you don't do anything about it, you are being a part of the accomplice of that suicide rate. I want to know if this is because I'm the only Hispanic here. That's what I want to know. Okay? Because I feel very called out. I feel isolated. I feel discriminated against right now, honestly. Honestly, I do. When I moved to Watertown, this is not what I was expecting. This is very segregation-y, very, very rude, very disrespectful. I expected a little more integrity in a town like this.
Do any other members of the public wish to address the board this evening?
Esther Capuano, 41 Franson Road. Again, it's starting up again. I know last year we talked about a lot of children going in to the nurse with bloody noses because of the masks. It is starting up again. My daughters will come off the bus, bloody noses. School nurse calls me, bloody noses. So if you guys can look into that again, please just, talk to the nurse. She'll try the nurse too. It's a lot on them too. So maybe air filtration, something, but to help these kids with the masks, it's just drying up their noses and again, starting, and my daughter's missed already a week of school. The pediatrician won't even let her go because it was so bad on her sinuses. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Any other members of the current public present wish to address the board this evening? And then after that, we'll switch over to virtual. Please state your name and street address.
Good evening, Elizabeth Lawton, 46 Pine Street. I just wanted to take a minute to speak this evening after what's become not an isolated incident here. I think sometimes silence speaks louder than words, so I appreciate all of the comments that were made in opening tonight. The Board of Education and the meetings that are held here as a public forum are meant to demonstrate the epitome of respectful and educated discourse, even when there are disagreements, and overall to demonstrate a process that has the best interests of the students at hand. For example, there's been multiple meetings that have toiled over even the semantics of a policy that emphasizes respect, nonpartisanship, and being non-judgmental. We also have Be Kind signs all around town from a variety of organizations. I have one in my yard as well. I think they're a great reminder in this climate. And the mural that's completed just in time for the nor'easter. However, when what's on the side of the walls is not being reflected inside of the walls, it becomes just words. And it is not the community that I know. It is not the community that I grew up in. It is not the community that I represent. And again, silence speaks volumes. I wanted to just state tonight that, again, I'm also grateful for the statistics that were mentioned in opening. The LGBTQIA plus community, especially the youth, have disproportionately high rates of suicide, suicide attempt, suicidal intention. This is not just a matter of comfort level, it is a matter of safety, it is a matter of health, it can be a matter of life and death. We have to encourage that what could be the only safe space for students, and we cannot and should not tolerate things that further marginalize students or take that away from anybody. I just want to also speak to the LGBTQIA plus students and families in town. It's not just the students, sometimes it's the families that these students are coming from, even in elementary school, even in middle school. And I say this as a parent with half Hispanic children. I support you fully. There is much of this community that supports you unconditionally. I just wanted to make sure that was stated. Thank you.
Thank you. Any members of the public wish to address the board? Please state your name and street address.
Kathy Hillian, 245 Guernsey Town Road. I'm here also tonight to address the hatred that has been spewed toward the LGBTQIA community in these meetings as of late. We have adults that have come up to speak in the last two meetings, adamant about changing the recent teaching and learning of multiple perspectives policy at hand because they are worried that their child will be made to think a certain way, invalidated in their own views, or made fun of for what they believe in. They demand that things be changed because they are concerned about the professionalism of our teachers and their ability to not push their views on their children, all while sitting in these very public spaces and attacking people of our LGBTQ community with hateful comments. It is unacceptable that we allow these comments to be ignored and uninterrupted as they are happening. These community members are the exact reasons that this policy needs to be in place. All students need to feel that they have a place in school to come and be their whole self and feel safe. A place they feel they will not be criticized, made fun of, or invalidated for any part of who they are. No matter if they are a student that is part of the LGBTQIA community, a student of color, a student with a different religious background, a student with learning differences, or a student with mental or physical disabilities. Every day, as a therapist and mother, I see the effects that the world has on our children and how they are affected mentally. I see how, when they struggle emotionally, they do not have the capacity to learn and thrive academically. Excuse me. They struggle to just survive academically. When a student feels they cannot be their whole self and that they have to try and hide parts of themselves, which in some cases is impossible, they are not fully present to learn. We need to stop allowing the few people in our community to dictate what we should be doing with policies that are necessary for all students, just because they are fearful of those who are different or share different views from them. Students need to be provided with all the information so that they can be allowed to form their own conclusions. No one is saying that your child can't come and share their views and with their class. We are simply saying that they have to be open to others' views, that they cannot voice their views in a way that is disrespectful and or attacking toward others. The same way it is not okay for others to attack or invalidate their views. I have witnessed other microaggressions towards other groups of individuals as well in these meetings, probably unknowingly done by the person making them. And that is just one more reason why we must do better to educate the children in our community of these perspectives. When you know better, you do better. Why limit the children's knowledge? Allow them to see, hear all perspectives so they can make educated conclusions for themselves.
Thank you. Are there any members of the public that wish to address the board?
Eric Wozniak, Oak Drive. In recent times, there's been some new books brought into Swift Middle School. There's a book called Cinderella is Dead. It says it's recommended for ages 15 plus, slight sexual conduct, allusions to rape, domestic violence, romance, and creepy male behavior. I went through Swift. When I went there, it was 7th and 8th. Now it's 6th, 7th, and 8th. My daughter will not be going to Swift. I do not believe, as a mother, these children should be reading at Swift Middle School about sexual content, rape, domestic violence, romance, and creepy male behavior. I'm a victim of domestic violence, okay? I would never want my daughter to read about these things. These children should be innocent. They shouldn't be reading about these books in Swift Middle School, okay? These are about books that should be in college or something, but Swift, kids are what at Swift? 12, 13 maybe. They should not be reading about domestic violence, rape, male behavior. This is absolutely disgusting. My daughter, she is in her last year of public schools in this community. It is absolutely disgusting, some of these books that are being brought in that I don't know if you guys even read these books that are even being donated, but this is disgusting. I would never want my daughter or anybody's child to be reading about domestic violence, rape at Swift. Do you guys research these books that are being brought in, though? This is absolutely disgusting, especially young girls. They don't even know what rape is. They don't know what domestic violence is. My daughter, I shield her from all these things. I censor what she watches, especially when she goes on YouTube or anything. We really need to take accountability and see what type of books are being brought in for our children to read. If they go to the library, are they going to pick up one of these books and come home and ask me, Mommy, what is rape? What is domestic violence? I would lose my mind. We're supposed to keep our children innocent. This is not innocence by putting these books in our schools. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other members present wish to address the board? Seeing none, we'll move on to the virtual audience. Members of the virtual audience who wish to address the board, you may do so by unmuting yourself. Go right ahead. Katie Washburn.
Hi, Leslie. Thank you. I just wanted to just say a few words about the new Board of Ed liaison, Evan. I have been so impressed with him every meeting since he started, how well-spoken he is, how well-prepared he is, and just how pleasant he is to listen to. I know teenagers very often get a bad rap, and we only hear about them when they do the wrong thing. So I just wanted to compliment him to everybody at the board, just to say that he really is a joy to listen to at every meeting.
Thank you. Any other members of the virtual audience wish to address the board? May do so by unmuting. Okay, seeing none, we will move on to item M, board policy. I will turn this over to Policy Chairman, Mr. Malaguti.
Thank you, Ms. Crotty. We had made some revisions to the policy 6012 based upon board members' feedback recently. And You could all check your packets there and
They're coming
pull out the
through.
document there. And turn it over to Dr. Villanueva to review what's been changed in there for the additional read, if you don't mind.
Thank you very much, Mr. Malaguti. So you are getting one new copy of the red line and one new copy of a clean copy.
So the one in your packet is not the one we'll be referring to. That's
Oh, sorry.
the same as the last quarter.
Correct, got it. So, once again, I want to thank all members of the Board of Education for taking the time to make revisions and to mull over Policy 6012 with such a fine-tooth comb. The discussion is the most fruitful time, I think, for us as a team and for me, definitely to be able to reflect. So, you'll see the red line, which includes a lot of the revisions that were already discussed in our last meeting. But as of our last meeting, on page 2, there was the suggestion to change the word guidelines to expectations, and then in subcategory F to add on teachers will facilitate topics 2B, and then to move forward from there. In addition, we had a conversation around adding on additional corresponding policies in the area on page 3. However, to keep this specific to teaching and learning as opposed to putting in disciplinary type policies, I kept that clean for the time being. So you can see those minor revisions from our last discussion, and again, thank you to everyone who provided their insight.
Do board members have any questions or comments they want to make on the revisions from our last meeting? Mr. Flaherty.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I appreciate, I'm just kind of catching up with the changes here. I like that this draft is responsive to comments we've heard from members of the board and comments during public participation from members of the public. I like the fact in the second paragraph, it talks about the teaching has to be clear, fact-based, neutral, presented in a way to allow the students to formulate their own opinions. And I think it also strengthens the tie to the curriculum, and it strengthens the ties to the curriculum committee. And also talks about, and this has been referenced too, in the expectations, being age appropriate, being related to the topics, age and course appropriate, and talking about topics, curriculum not specifically approved by the committee shall only be permitted with approvals of the building principal and superintendent. So what I have seen as this has evolved is accountability. It talks about supervision. There was a lot of concern about what happens if a teacher decides to just talk about their own or push their own point of view. And when I think about the balance is that there are measures of accountability, there are measures of supervision. And at least what I'm seeing, this does not cross the line into suspicion and an automatic suspicion that one could have read to say, well, we're suspicious at this as if it were a default. But it makes very clear courtesy. It makes very clear some of the things that we're talking about as we've struggled to make this better and be more receptive to the to what has been stated. And I think that's it. And the stress again, that topics taught and discussed in objective, nonpartisan, impartial manner. And, you know, this morning, there was an incident at East Catholic High School. It was a racial incident between students at a football game versus Montville High School last month, or earlier in October. And two students from the, a brother-sister students wrote a letter to the Hartford Courant. I was reading it this morning, and it reminded me of this. And this is what they said. It was Catherine and Jonathan Green. Facing the past expands our frame of reference so we can understand others' experiences and avoid repeating the same errors. And they finished their letter by saying most young people today want to jettison bigotry and divisiveness to build a world rooted in mutual respect. I appreciate and believe that this revision of the policy gets us closer to saying those words, but not as eloquently as Catherine and Jonathan Green did. And I thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Flaherty. Any other board members wish to make any comments on the revisions? Mr. Makowski?
Yes, Madam Chair, thank you. I want to extend my utmost thanks and appreciation to Dr. Villanueva for allowing me the opportunity to express my concerns with the original policy, and for this entire board for doing what we should do, which is sharing our comments, hearing what each other has to say, taking that feedback, and going for another round. Rinse and repeat. Okay, this is probably, in almost 6.5 years of my time on the board, the single most challenging endeavor. We've had some challenging situations, but from a policy, curriculum and instruction perspective, by far the most challenging. And so I just want to thank you for addressing my concerns. I believe that with anything, there is give and take, and I believe I feel comfortable with where we are tonight, that it puts us in a place where it allows our teachers to do their jobs, it allows our administrators to do their jobs. It does create a process, and it does create accountability. Is it as far as I would like it to go? No, because if you look at my draft, it was, a lot more. But I do want to say thank you, from the bottom of my heart for listening to me and taking into account my feedback and thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Makowski. Any other members? Okay. Seeing none, is there a motion?
Madam Chair.
Mr. Flaherty?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I move that the Board of Education approve of the revisions to policy number 6012, teaching and learning multiple perspectives on current and historical events, effective immediately.
Thank you, Mr. Flaherty. Is there a second?
I second it.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, and everyone who worked on it. Thank you.
Moving on to item N, action item, adoption of item to be approved by consent. We have a very generous gift to accept this evening. Do we have a motion?
Yes, Madam Chair, I move that the board accept the generous donation of a 2-drum set for the Polk and Judson Elementary Jazz Boy Program at an estimate value of $1,332.35, made by Jen and Mark Johnson of Morris, Connecticut, and that a note of appreciation be sent to the donor.
Thank you, Mrs. Rosa. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. I believe Dr. Villanueva wanted to add something.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I know it's not on here. We received a wonderful donation from the Staples in Shelton. Thank you, Vice Chairwoman Wilk, for connecting us with the management there. We received 700 boxes of pre-packed school supplies, which include dry erase markers, a Sharpie marker, erasers, pencils, and a pen. Ruler, I think, is even tossed in there, and they're in these beautiful little yellow kits. We received 700 of them. So we will be deploying those to our elementary schools throughout this week and next. And again, just thank you for making the connection. You told us to be there Thursday on 1 o'clock, and we were there. we got them.
Big thank you to my cousin and his general manager and his manager that helped this whole thing, so.
Wonderful. Thank you. So we will write a letter and sign it and send it off to Staples.
Thank you. Moving on to item O, committee reports. Mrs. Rinaldi, Chair of Curriculum and Instruction.
Nothing at this time.
And Mr. Malaguti, Policy and Labor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We had an action item a moment ago, thus accepting the revisions to policy 6012. No further updates from there.
Thank you very much. Mr. Makowski, Budget and Finance.
No report at this time.
And Mrs. Wilk, Facilities, PBC, Operations.
I said nothing to report, but I want to be that mean. Board members did receive in their packets a wonderful update from our facilities, and I just wanted to say that the Watertown High School did get an indoor air quality test that was performed, an area of concern. Test results will be next week. Same thing for Swift Middle School, and we have, I'll leave it at that, unless you'd like me to report anything else.
I would just like to add that I had spoken last week during the facilities report and
Yes.
chair report about the WEA teacher presidents coming, reporting concerns over 2 areas, one at Swift and one at the high school in regards to potential mold. You had, Dr. Villanueva had already investigated it and determined everything was fine, but I had requested that we have environmental studies done, and you agreed. Board members, are they in their packets? The Brooks Environmental came
Yes,
back
I
with-
believe you have a hard copy.
with the report?
Yes.
Showing that we have no areas of concern in either of those areas or the surrounding area of that area. So I was very pleased with that, and I will respond to the WEA and send them a copy of that in the morning. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Mr. Makowski, Governments and Community Engagement.
No report at this time.
Thank you. Just a quick thing for my last board chair report. I do want to echo some of the things that Mrs. Rinaldi wrote about Board of Education members, and specifically the board chair role, because much of the work that I've had to do as board chair does occur in the background. And in preparation for meetings and board priorities during negotiations with my fellow board members and hearings and workshops and seminars that we've all belonged to, have gone to, meeting with the superintendent, and staying current on new and updated legislation and policy matters, coordinating efforts with town council, which you've all been a part of, and keeping board members informed, and most importantly, being present for parents and families of Watertown Public Schools. Of everything that I've had the opportunity to work on in the last 8 years, that is one of the things that I will always treasure. The opportunity to work with our families, specifically those who are most vulnerable, those who shared their personal stories of trauma, of tragedy, and experiences, those who trusted me in their most vulnerable moments, who reached out for the betterment of their own children and others. Those conversations are going to stay with me forever. I will always carry you and your children in my hearts and will continue to pray for you for healing. Because above all else, students in this town are in crisis. And our focus, and my request for the incoming board and the board members that are remaining, is that our focus of this board must remain on them and their classmates. And I encourage you to do everything you can to provide increased mental health services and resources for our students and our faculty and our community. Moving on to item Q, future agenda items and board member comments. Do board members have any comments they wish to make at this time? Mrs. Eastman.
Well, you brought it up already, everybody, but I felt very remiss a couple of weeks ago, and I wanted to bring our attention back to the letter read on October 12th, which detailed the incident of anti-Semitism on a young child that had the effect of the family moving out of town. And I feel like there was so much going on at that meeting, I felt remiss that I didn't speak up at that time. And I feel like there are 2 issues at hand here. One is a long-term issue that should make us acutely aware that teaching tolerance we need to begin in our primary grades, as no child should be ridiculed for his or her personal beliefs. And the next more immediate concern, which has already been addressed tonight, is immediately reviewing our scheduling and calendar policies in order to honor and observe the diversity of all our families' religious and cultural customs. We need to create a school calendar that allows every member of our school communities to participate as fully as they are able, which you all started without me, so I say it. But I wanted to bring it up because I felt, upon reflection after hearing that and thinking about it, I just felt like it's something that that's a pretty severe response to something that happened to a child in our school. So,
Thank you, Mrs. Eastman. Mrs. Rinaldi?
Over the past 10 months, I've seen a lot of negativity and hurtful things on social media and at Board of Education meetings. It seems that political views and beliefs have been brought up in the ways this Board of Education makes educational decisions. When I joined the Board of Education, the one thing that I embraced was a lack of politics that was brought into this lecture room twice a month. Yes, we are elected based on our political platform. However, that has never been how we base our decisions. The 9 of us sitting here have always listened to each other with respect and courtesy, and although we haven't always agreed, we've valued each other's opinions and decisions. That is the difference between how this Board of Ed has handled situations and the way the community has been entering this lecture hall. As of late, the community seems to think that because we are Republicans or Democrats, we should vote a certain way or we should think a certain way. Each of us vote or speak on views based on what we think is best for our students and our district as a whole. We look at each comment, each concern, each policy, each union negotiation, each committee update, etc. as an individual entity. We discuss it, weigh the pros and cons, and then we vote the way we think is most beneficial. Are there times where our vote may seem to sway in a way that society has identified Republican or Democrat? Sure, but that doesn't make any of us here bad people. It makes us human for having our own opinions. The badgering and cruel comments towards staff, students, Board of Education members, and community members is not what this board, past, present, or future, believes in or will stand for. Each of our schools has their own reward system to support respectful behavior. Think about how excited your children are when they come home from school with a Gotcha or an Eagle Award. Please don't misunderstand my message. We want parents to speak up about your thoughts and concerns. But before you get up to that podium to share, think about the message you are sending to our children. Would your behavior get you a Gotcha Award? Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Rinaldi, well said. Any other members have any comments or future agenda items they wish to share? Mrs. Rosa?
Yes. I'd first like to start with Evan. I'd like to say thank you for giving us all those detailed messages and updates every time we meet, and they're amazing. It saves me time from reading them because you tell me everything. So thank you. And so next, I'd like to say something to Brian. Brian, it's only been a very short time that we've been on the board together, but your energy and the passion that you have for this board that is shown is very outstanding, and the love you have for our educational system shines right through. I want to thank you for being with us, and it's been an honor to have served with you on this board.
It's hard.
I had to get to the end. So Leslie and Janelle, okay, 8 years have gone by, and I would have not traded this journey for anything. You have been here with us. I have met the most amazing people that any person could have ever come in contact with, including all the members here on the board. Superintendent, teachers, students, parents, faculty members. We have come a long way in such a short time, and I thank everyone here for making this journey incredible for me. What I have learned through all this is that people will forget what you say, and people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. Thank you for always making me feel welcomed.
Thank you, Josephine. Any other members wish to make any comments at this time?
Go ahead, Rob.
You can go first if you want.
Mrs. Wilk?
Oh, I'm gonna try. You know, Josephine, I was trying to make this so I didn't cry, because it's harder when you have a mask on to cry. So I'm gonna be kind of whatever. I'm gonna make it short and sweet, because we would be here forever if I didn't. And again, I don't want to cry. I have so many wonderful memories, experiences, and amazing things to say about my 8 years being on this board. I drove in tonight and got a little choked up knowing that this was my last meeting. It has been a true honor and privilege being a part of Watertown's Board of Education. Thank you to everyone who elected me and gave me this opportunity. Thank you to my fellow board members for always being there. Thank you all for sharing with me the same passion and concern for the children entrusted to our care and for our beautiful town. I know that all the good work that is being done will continue on. We have amazing administrators, faculty, staff, and most importantly, outstanding students. Good luck to the new board members, and I hope everyone has a healthy and a fantastic rest of their school year.
Thank you, Janelle. Anybody else? Mr. Makowski.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Over the last almost 6.5 years, I have spent more time, some weeks, with Leslie, Janelle, Josephine, and Brian than I have with my own family. Collectively, I would like to thank you for your time and dedication to Watertown Public Schools. Brian, being a baseball fan, the best way I could describe you is you're the utility guy. After the loss of our dear friend Tom Lambert, you willingly stepped in to fill a void, bringing with you your experience in public policy, legislation, and public relations. We appreciate all that you have done over the last year to support this board in Watertown Public Schools. Josephine, always at the other end of the table. You felt so far away. However, I could feel you from here. You're the most kind, caring, gracious, and hardworking person of anyone I know. You brought your commitment to family into Watertown Public Schools, wanting nothing more than the very best for our children. We will miss you dearly. However, you can certainly help us plan any future holiday parties. Just saying. Janelle, another selfless giver who cared for nothing more than improving our school system. You chaired one of the hardest committees, policy and labor, and you filled really big shoes when we lost Tom, becoming vice chair. Your contributions and dedication are immeasurable, but more importantly, the friendship you have brought to each and every one of us is more than anybody could hope for. Madam Chair, you wrote me into this 6+ years ago after I spoke during public comment at the budget presentation. I was shocked and honored that you would think enough of me to even consider asking. Thank you. Your commitment to Watertown Public Schools, your time commitment is unparalleled. I still don't know where you find the time. And if I had to describe you in one word, it would be meticulous. Everything is always exactly the way that you wanted it. At least it looks that way. Always well thought out and planned. Always well written and well spoken. I can certainly say that I have learned a lot from you and appreciate the opportunity to do so. Thank you for your leadership and your mentorship for so many years. To the outgoing board members, thank you for giving selflessly and doing that which very few are willing to do. Best of luck in all that the future brings to you. I yield back.
Thank you, Mr. Makowski. Mr. Flaherty?
Thank you, Madam Chair. My parents were teachers. And like we've heard in many board meetings, and I think like all of us believe, parents are their children's first teachers. Parents, grandparents, guardians, caregivers. We come at least second or probably long after that. But our job is to partner with them and to do the best we can. And I've always felt that the beauty of democracy is in its renewal. I would have given anything in the world not to be sitting here today because of the man who was sitting here, Tom Lambert, who we all love and admire. And I wouldn't be sitting here today, I suppose, Madam Chair, if you hadn't called and, I'd say you conned me into it, but you didn't con me into it. And this has been the hardest thing I've ever done in politics. I want to thank all of you. I want to thank the people who come here every meeting and speak up. Because I think the people who are coming here and are doing so sincerely in their role as their children's first teachers. Now, I don't agree with everything that's said, but we don't have to. That's also what democracy is about. But the people who come here are braver souls than those lurking in back rooms in anonymous conspiracies and writing letters to the paper that other people sign. So I think for people to come here to speak up as parents is part of how our country was founded. We are in the midst of historic times, turbulent times. This board has endeavored to steer our way through agendas with a new superintendent. Doc, I'm really glad it's you. We had to deal with budget problems. We've had to go through an historic global pandemic that shook the world, and boards of education don't write the laws. But we have to implement those laws as to how our schools teach, and we have to do our best to support the students and the parents, our teachers, administration, and staff. We're the place parents and the people can and come and should come to. And it's good that we have 2 public participations, and it's good we're also able to enable people who can't be here to do it. Because I believe the board's job is to listen, is to think, is to act, applying our best energies and experiences, and as Mrs. Rinaldi said, using our judgment. It reminds me of Edmund Burke. Your representative owes you not their industry only, but their judgment. And they betray, they don't serve you if they sacrifice their judgment to your opinion. And so that's why there are votes, and that's why there are things people agree on, and we debate. And this experience with the policy, we listen. Okay, we hammer it out. We keep going. We try to get consensus. So thank you to those who speak up. Thank you to all those who also are standing for election or re-election. It's hard to do. And thank you again, Madam Chair. When I was asked for one word, I doubled it because I had to say utterly selfless. I am one to, well, I say in one word what I can say in about an hour, and I've spoken already longer than my entire service on this board. So thank you for this opportunity. Evan, Jason, Cindy, Josephine, Madam Superintendent, Madam Chair, Janelle, Kathy, Rob, Karen. As they say, history has its eye on you, and we're all counting on you, and I'm certainly rooting for you.
Thank you, Mr. Flaherty. Any other board members wish to add any comments or future agenda items? Okay. Seeing none, we'll move on to the last round of public participation. Do any members present wish to address the board this evening? Any members of our virtual audience wish to address the board this evening? Sarah Hall?
Good evening. Thank you so much for all of your service. As we begin to close this meeting tonight, I just wanted to reiterate how absolutely impressive all of you are and how gracefully you have handled some really challenging waters this season and in the past year and a half, and certainly leading up to those points as well. You've all been met with lots of challenges, and I'm very grateful for those of you who will continue on the board, and those of you who are exiting. It's okay, buddy. And so I just wanted to just kind of echo all of those sentiments that went out, all of your hard work, your dedication. You are so very much appreciated by our district, and for doing right by our children and making sure that their best interests are at the center of your focus all of the time. That's incredibly important. As a parent, as an educator, those are things that I specifically value in a board of education. It's really, really important to see that the representation is specifically looking out for the best interests of our babies. And so thank you once again for all of your hard work. I also want to thank the educators in the Watertown Public School System who currently are making it a safe place for all students, regardless of their backgrounds, the experiences that they're coming to school with every day, the challenges that they're facing, making it a safe place for them. Those who are going out of their way to make sure that students can be their authentic selves and that they can have people there who are safe adults for them. I, as an educator, can say that there have been lots of times when students, specifically students who are part of the LGBTQ community or students who don't have somebody within the school or within the building that they can connect with, have found a safe place in classrooms where teachers are intentional about creating that space for them. And I think that's something that we need to continue to keep at the forefront of our minds, that all of our students are coming from different backgrounds and with different needs. And if we are to continue to do the best for our students, we want to keep their mental health at the forefront, especially during all of the challenges that they are facing and unsure how to navigate these waters as well. It's beautiful when they have families at home that they feel safe with, that they can connect with, and they can be their authentic selves at home as well. But we do know that there are some students who don't have that luxury, who are not safe in expressing who they are at home for various reasons, and oftentimes it's fear. And so I'm grateful for the educators who continue to create that safe space for our children, and I'm hoping that the board continues to ensure that our teachers are working to make it a safe space for everybody.
Thank you, Ms. Hall. Any other members of the virtual audience wish to address the board? Please unmute yourself if you do. Okay, seeing and hearing none, I would ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The meeting is adjourned. Time is 9:30. Thank you, everybody.
Just like that. Blink of an eye.
Oh, that wasn't too long. Good job, everybody. Good job on any of you. I'm so sad after this meeting.
Oh, put it out.
Some great people leaving.
Thank you very
Very nice to meet you. I'm so sorry I wasn't to work with four wonderful members of the board.
I really appreciate all the opportunities the board has given me.
Thank you. As a opportunity.
Thank you so much.
I could take. I'm glad you stayed. I really appreciate it.
I'm so sad that I won't get to work with you.
Yeah, right?
I wish you nothing but the best. I'm really impressed by everything I've heard this evening.
Oh, I'm keeping this.
Very lucky to be here.
Yeah, well, I was driving to the airport. She's got to go on a visit. She's on a visit trip before I am. So I think we have to leave at like 5:30 tomorrow.
You're gonna keep this?
Oh, my gosh. Well, nobody, it's not going to do anybody else any good, so thank you, Kathy.
I know. Believe in our books.
Thank you, Mindy.
I already feel that way. Thank you for saying that. I appreciate it.
I
wish you all the best.
I am always happy.
I just want to shake,
But
I don't get to work
still
with
reached
you.
in church, and I'll be a
We'll cross paths elsewhere. I'm sure you guys are still going to be active in the community. Thank you for everything and for all your service and for being part of the selection committee. That me too. I'm very grateful. Thank you. But nothing. I feel like I'm losing out on.
We're gonna have to have, I would love to just have some sort of like date night, go for drinks.
Yes.
Agreed.
Nice up there, coffee, I don't care what it is.
1,000,000%, yes.
You know, it'd be nice.
Yeah.
I've so enjoyed getting to know Jason and Marcia.
Listen, we're not doing
Nice to hear the wonderful things.
You know, I was going to say, like, when you're,
It's like I said, it's thankless work.
when you go through challenging situations,
There are people that I know. Thank you so much.
we look back just since I've been here, the incredible things that all of them, you get tighter and tighter and tighter. You need each other. What's
That's right. And the only, you're probably on the board, get it, like what you're doing. I think, right? Whether you agree on the same page or not, they're the only people who really understand what it's like.
us on a lot of those subcommittees in the last year or two, like, that's when I really was like, wow. Oh, yeah. The bond is incredible, and it's
This is gonna sound really weird, but I'm really glad we have a couple together.
Yes, I know, I saw that too. Yeah, like, yes.
I'm like, I'm kind of excited.
Definitely,
I'm kind of
definitely.
excited for this. Anyways, I thought you were gonna be excited. And last week, oh no, I have more opportunities.
Oh, yeah.
You're
Yeah.
not the duty. Eddie even said you shouldn't give me money still. Like, you're having a hard time with this.